can't believe we made it to the end of the school year. And honestly, there were times I really didn't think that would happen. Hi, my name is Joann, and today I'm going to share a little bit of our autism life here and a little bit about my son Michael, who is nonverbal and on the spectrum, and how he did this year in school, and also how I grew a little bit as an autism mom. Let's get started. Welcome, friends. Welcome back. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about Michael's year, this year in school, his accomplishments, some of the things that may have been a little challenging, and also how I've grown a little bit myself as an autism mom. I like to do these videos. I know that they are not the most high, the the views are not the highest that I have here on my channel. And if you are here for cleaning or recipes or weekly vlogs, I hope that you stick around just to learn a little bit more about autism and how it is as an autism family. So Michael is 13. He just turned 13 last month. He has a twin brother, Alex, and they are pretty much opposites. Not even in the fact that Alex is neurotypical and Michael, is nonverbal and has autism. He was diagnosed about 20, 22 months, and since then we have been, providing him with the tools that he needs to help him get through daily life, really. We have home ABA therapy, speech therapy, and at school he gets those services as well as OT. So this year, about 3 years ago, Michael started in a private school for kids with disabilities, special needs, autism, Down syndrome, physical disabilities, and we have seen such a huge improvement in not only the way that he has been learning, but just personality wise, it has been a huge benefit to us to have him in this school. This year, we definitely had some behavioral challenges, and I'm going to say I truly believe it has to do with the fact that, he's becoming a teenager, really. And actually, he is a teenager now at 13. So, I think a lot of things played into that. Hormones, um, definitely the communication had a huge part in it. And we've had a few changes towards the end of the year that I think maybe contributed to those difficult times for him. So first, I want to say that academically, Michael is not on the same level as Alex. So he is able to count up to a certain number. I think, actually, honestly, I think he may be even past 20 at this point. I just counting here at home isn't something that we do, although probably we should. But uh, definitely the alphabet he knows. He is able to write his name. It is sometimes challenging, but as far as academics go, it is quite different than what Alex has as a well, this past year they were in seventh grade. So as a seventh grader, it's definitely there are differences, which is understandable. But definitely, I see that Michael enjoys going to school. He enjoys his friends. He enjoys the activities there. And I also think that he enjoys doing his programs and his special therapies, such as speech and OT. And one of the things I would say that Michael probably really enjoys is the sensory room that the school provides. It has multiple different sensory factors that can really help children on the spectrum when maybe feeling a little bit overwhelmed and they need a lot of sensory input. They have swings, they have, yoga balls, and just like all different special lighting, just all different things to really help them through those times when they're having a sensory overload, really. So I know that that's probably, I would say that's probably his favorite place in the school. I might be wrong. I'll have to check with his teacher. But for me, I'm thinking that that's probably his favorite place to spend some time. So I would say since his diagnosis, definitely every year brings new challenges, but it also brings unexpected wins. And I think it's important, as an autism family, to really concentrate on the wins and really work on how to get through the challenges. And that's definitely been, more of the challenges during the second half of the year. I'm not even the whole half of the year. I want to say, definitely the last month of the school year, was probably the most difficult. I think the challenges, that he had was a lot of behavioral issues, and I don't ever, really like to get into too much detail. There are plenty of autism families sharing what those behaviors look like on social media. That is not something that I'm comfortable here on my channel sharing. I am more than happy to talk about them, but I just don't feel like, for me and for my family, that it's something that I want to put out, for the whole world to see. These are difficult behaviors. And while I respect the families that are sharing them, I know that I'm hoping that their intentions is to give you a glimpse into what it looks like, how they work through it, and how they're able to get through it, um, because it is difficult. That is one thing I don't think that maybe we get across enough as an autism family, is how difficult those behavioral, challenges can be for us. It affects everyone in your house. So, I think for Michael this year, I'm going to say, like I said earlier, I really do think it's a hormonal thing. Turning 13, I even see, little teenage behaviors starting with Alex as well. So I know I'm trying to, be focused on, what the possible reasons for those behavioral issues can be from. Also, the lack of communication is definitely something. When you can't tell somebody what is bothering you, the frustration builds up, and that's what leads them to having these behaviors. So I do think that, working on communication is probably the most important thing when it comes to Michael and helping him. And unfortunately, our speech therapist, home speech therapist, had to leave us, back in, I believe it was April. It is very hard in this area to find a speech therapist to come to your home. Um, it is very rare, very rare. So we have been blessed that Michael has had speech therapy at home since his diagnosis. There have been a few times where, for various reasons, speech therapists, are not able to come to the house, and we've gone, maybe a few months without anyone here. And that is the case right now. However, we do have his ACC device, which is essentially an iPad with a program that has different icons, for him to communicate with. Still learning, still in the process. We're still learning how to use it, but it's definitely been helpful. And I did another video about his device, and I think I will link that up here in case you are curious about how it works. Um, but we recently found out that we are going to be having a speech therapist come back into our home. So I'm really excited and hopeful that those, behaviors that are really essentially coming from lack of communication will ease up. We'll be able to get more use and, more training on the device, and just really be able to help Michael communicate his needs, his wants. If something is bothering him, if his head hurts or his stomach hurts, things of that nature that could be possibly causing these, meltdowns. Sometimes I call them meltdowns or behavioral behaviors to occur. So it's really important for us as a family to be able to help Michael with his communication. So I think that that's really where the low points of this past year have been. And I'm hoping and I'm hopeful for the future that as time goes on, we get the speech therapist back into our home and we continue to work on him using his device. It'll get better. But I do expect it to be, and not, I'm not trying to be negative, but I do expect that behavioral issues to always be there. Just something that, as many autism families, I think, many autism families, have to go through. I'm hoping that it gets better, and I don't see why. I can't see right now um, that it would get worse. At least I hope not. But so that is really some of the low points, because even the behaviors he was having at school. And it's stressful. It's stressful to know that your child um, is unhappy and not able to tell you, teachers or therapists, what it is exactly. And, you know, um, like I said, I don't want to go into detail about too much of what the behaviors are. I mean, I could, mention it is, sometimes it is very aggressive behavior towards you, uh, towards the teacher, towards me. So it's challenging. And I think, really that was the low points for this year. But there definitely was high points, and I want to share some of them as well. Some of the high points is definitely Michael using his device to communicate with us, without any prompting, going to get it himself, bringing it over to us, and using it to tell us exactly what he wanted or he needed. That has been a game changer. And when I focus on that type of, um, you know, when that type of an achievement, and it is, I know that going forward, as he learns it and uses it more, it's only going to get better. So this year, he's been able to tell us that he wants to go for a walk, he wants to go outside, he wants to go for a ride in the car, he wants to take a shower, he wants to eat a snack, he wants to have toast. I'm trying to think of all the things. He wants to go to the park. Um, just like just they're simple sentences, simple needs, but they were communicated to us, and to me that's perfect. I see the potential of him going forward using this, communicating more with us and his family and his teachers and his therapists, and being able to communicate as the years go by, and the growth that you know I see in him. It's definitely, he is realizing what this is for, and if he uses it, he gets the result that he wants. And I think that, it's just such a great tool to have. And I hope that if you're watching this and you have a nonverbal child, that this is something that your school district can help you with. Um, you know, it may take a while for you. If you're in the public school system, it can be challenging. I understand that. But if this is something that you think your child will benefit, advocate for it, because it's so important as a parent. You're the only, you're the parent. You have to be able to get out there and really, you know, I hate to say it this way, campaign, but that's really kind of what it is, for the services and all the services that your child needs. It's really, for me, very important. And I hope that, as I'm talking more about this on my channel and sharing with everyone, that you get a little glimpse of what our families go through and how important it is to have that support. So I wanted to touch a little bit on some of the things that, um, we did when Michael was having these challenging times. And I think the most important thing is that there were really three things that really what we kind of tried to focus on: consistent routines. Um, Kids on the spectrum just love to know what it is that they're going to be doing next, whether it's a visual schedule, a token, well, not a token board, a visual schedule, you know, I'm trying to think of what the other board is called, but if I can remember it, I will let you know. But a visual ball, a visual schedule, maybe pictures of what their day is going to look like, things like that. Also, the routine really helps them eliminate those behavior because they know what's coming up. They know they do their work now. Next is gym class. Things of that nature really do help them. Um, Communication skills, and that is definitely, visual, their device, definitely things that are going to help them get through those moments, as they learn to use these tools to communicate their needs and their wants. Sensory breaks are huge. Like I said, Michael really loves that sensory room at school. We have kind of set up his room so it's not quite as extensive. We did get a swing. We have mats all on the floor of his room. He really likes that, to be able to lay on them. We have a huge trampoline outside as well as one indoors. Water, anything to do with more water, even just giving Michael, you know, 15, 20 minutes in a bathtub is also very, um, a sensory seeking child. He definitely benefits from that. So I think those were the things that we tried to focus on, you know, this year to help him. And I do believe that it's not always I'm going to say it's really not always 100% fix. But these are things that, as they become part of the routine and you do consistently, do definitely help. So I definitely think um, sensory, especially the sensory breaks. For me, I really think that, Michael wears noise canceling headphones. Definitely that has helped him huge this year. Even using them more at home when we're traveling in the car. Those are, definitely things that have helped him. Um, yeah, so I really think that when you concentrate on those things, it can only help. And, like I said, sometimes it doesn't, but it does for the most part. I sound contradictory, and I don't mean to, but I think what I'm trying to say is that nothing is 100%, especially when it comes to kids on the spectrum. But I do believe that those things are definitely helpful and useful to have, as part of your autism family life. Lastly, I just want to touch on what I learned this year as an autism mom. I think that I finally realized that trying to compare Michael to other autistic children does not do me any good or him. I think you, as someone who's on social media a lot and following other autism families, when you see maybe different progress that their child is making, get you kind of get wrapped up in that a little bit and maybe feel a little guilty. I'm not doing enough. I need to do this, or maybe I should have done that. I think that I learned this year that that's not always the case, and that the progress that I see in my son is phenomenal, and it will only continue to be, um, it'll only continue to be, um, every year to be better than the year before. And I think that one thing I can say is if I could see when Michael was first diagnosed, if I could see where we were today, I wouldn't have believed it. Not in a million years. But I think, um, you know now seeing where we are, it's such a huge difference. And I think that I also have learned that I have more patience than what I give myself credit for. Um, I have learned to kind of forgive myself if I feel like I did not handle a situation the way I should have. It's okay. I'm starting to give myself a little grace because I'm realizing that you can't have all the answers all the time, and that's a hard thing, I think, for as a mom. You want to fix things, and it's just not always possible in that moment. But I realized that if I had the patience to learn and to grow and to work on those things, good outcomes are possible. And also, I think just learning to advocate more for Michael, um, even when it comes to doctors. Uh, I feel less intimidated by what they tell me, or um, I'm, I have respect for them, but there are some things that I'm sorry, I'm not doing, or I'm not taking your advice on. And for me, I think that was probably hard. Um, I I I want to be able to trust in them and take their advice, but I don't always have to. And I think that was a big learning lesson for me this year. Um, and I think it came to something that they suggested, and I just wasn't comfortable with it, and I spoke up and said no, and that's hard for me. So I think that those were really my key lessons as an autism mom this year. And I think if you are an autism mom, parent, dad, caregiver, or family member, um, there are things that you are going to learn about yourself as well, because it is quite a journey, and different than anything you've ever done before the diagnosis. So definitely a lot of growth this year for me. And final, I just want to say in closing that if you are an autism parent, mom, dad, caregiver, family member, I know that there are many times that you probably feel alone, and I want to just encourage you to reach out to other autism families, because I think you will find a sense of community and belonging, and definitely you will not be alone, because I can guarantee you that they went through what you are going through. They're going through what you're going through right at that moment, and they probably have something that they can share with you that helped them, and quite possibly will help you, your child, and your family. So if you ever need anything, you want to ask me a question, you just had a child that was diagnosed, or maybe you're ahead of me. You have a child with an adult child with autism. I would still love to hear you, because I could still use the encouragement and the feeling of community as well. So that is it for today, my friends. I hope that you found this video helpful, and I appreciate you listening, taking the time to learn about autism, my son, and our family. And that's it. Have a great day, and I will see you next time. Thank you.